in terms of quality, but I would say the Tolworth Hurdle is quite a decent field. So let's take a look at the betting firstly, as we have it at matchbook.com. This is fascinating. The top three in the betting in particular. You can back Tamaras currently at 3.25. Authorized speed, the same price, 3.25. Arctic Brazil traveling over from Ireland for Henry de Bromhead is 4.5. Lastro Boys 13.0. Nima Online is 17.0. And Conall Harry is 34.0. Blow Your Wad 34.0. And Uka Tango is 34.0. I mentioned all the horses DC because I'll go to you first on this one. You do like one at a price here with course and distance form.
Yeah, this one is based on, so I've been looking at the weather for Sandown. It's soft at the moment, but there is a small bit of rain today and there's a good bit of rain tomorrow morning. So this is very much based on if it goes heavy or a bit soft. And this, the one I picked out was Colonel Harry for Jamie Snowden. He won by 7 lengths in an absolute slog of a race. In November, I think there was only 5 horses finished out of 11. But he absolutely scooted up the hill, loved the ground. He's currently about 34.0. He's a big price. And if the ground turns heavy, we should have a good idea of it by the time Tolworth is run. I'll definitely have a small win place bet on him. But the other one, I think the winner is Authorized Speed. I think he's had 2 runs over the course and distance. He's won like his last run over the course and distance. Like he's won by 15 lengths and 6.5 lengths this year, and 6.5 lengths at Sandown. Sandown getting up the hill is fairly impressive. I think I'd say he's a good horse, and Gary Moore is in good form, but he's a skinny enough price, and it's a very open race. So I wouldn't be putting the house on him, but I think he's the most likely winner.
Yeah, he's a very exciting horse for the Moors, and then the other horse you mentioned there, Conall Harry. The race was over for most of those horses, two out. So the fact he stayed on course and distance, he's definitely promising. Adele, I'm very fascinated that you've gone with the Irish runner here. Is it just as simple as thinking you're going to go with the Irish novice form over the English, or is there something a bit more to it?
I couldn't believe it. I thought DC might have gone for the Irish horse.
Yes, that's what I'm asking. Yeah,
I can't believe I'm the only one. No, I just really like this horse's performance at Cork, and he looks like he's got a serious engine with plenty of pace as well, which will really suit Sandown. He stays a bit further again, so that's needed at a stiff track. I know they paid obviously a lot of money for him when he finished second in a point-to-point, and that was over 3 miles, so he clearly does stay a little bit further. But just like all the positive vibes about this horse, and at the prices, I thought, why not take a chance with the Irish horses as they come over. They certainly Robbie Power, who does the placing for them. I just thought he seemed to have this race in mind for him. So I've got the utmost respect for Authorized Speed. He's by Authorized, who's quite a quirky stallion who I quite like. They just get better and better with age. They've got a lot of ability if you can kind of tap them in the right place, because they can be quite quirky. But I just thought Arctic Brazil looked quite straightforward in like his mannerism. So he looks quite straightforward. Hopefully he'll go around and win. But can't believe we're going with the Irish horse.
But it's interesting you say, Adele, Robbie Power, because he's recently joined Henry de Bromhead as the racing planner. Maybe over to you, Dees, on this. I guess like he hasn't usually sent his novice hurdlers over to England, so that might be a Robbie Power sort of move, perhaps. Or
yeah, I suppose he's obviously looking for an angle, looking for something different. Like there's no negatives to this horse. The only thing I was thinking of was that Cork is an extremely flat track. Cork is like a greyhound track. It's flat all around, and I was just wondering that maybe in soft ground and Sandown, maybe he won't be able to quicken like he did. That was the only reason I didn't tip him. That was the only negative I had. But it's not really a huge negative either. So
yeah. And Dad, there's a question for you. Are you not worried about the de Bromhead horses travelling? To be honest, I don't think it's too small a sample this season to have any concerns there at all.
No, he doesn't have a great record at Sandown. That's what I was kind of more worried about. But like DC said, there's just not many negatives about this horse apart from the track and ground, which he stays 3 miles what he looked like on his point-to-point form. So I think he should be fine. The ground, he's by what was his size? Blue Brazil, who handled soft ground. So French stallion. So he should be absolutely fine. So I'm hoping those little negatives are just very, very little negatives.
Yeah. Dan, over to you. Yeah, go on, Dees.
Brazil had a good runner in this race last year as well. Constitution Hill.
He was not bad.
No, yeah.
Not bad.
He did all right. Yeah. I do remember watching this weekend last year, and just that's a serious horse. Obviously went against him in the Supreme. Dan, you're going for one at a price here.
Yeah, well, this is a fascinating race. I think the fact you can make convincing cases for the likes of Colonel Harrod, who sit pretty towards the bottom of the market, I think speaks to the depth of this race as well. Looking from a betting angle, you've got Tamuras and Authorized Speed, who I respect both of them. Probably I'd favour Authorized Speed of the two. They take a decent chunk of the market, and when you've got 8 runners, obviously you're looking for an each-way angle, and especially when there's such big price discrepancies, which led me to Lastro Boy. And now, considering he beat Tamuras in a bumper last season on his racecourse debut, you can argue that the price discrepancy is still too big. He was a bigger price yesterday. It seems a few people have latched onto that form line because I think he was 26-ish, and now he's obviously shortened quite significantly, but I still think there's a bit of juice there. And now you can argue simultaneously that Tamuras was quite keen that day in that bumper, but simultaneously, like Evan Williams' first-time bumper winners are an extremely rare occurrence. Before Lastro Boy, you had to go back to 2018 to find the last one, and he had 52 attempts in that time, so they're not common. He went off at 25-1, so clearly wasn't geared for that, and still won in the manner of a pretty smart horse. He then won on his hurdling debut as well. Now, the form isn't fantastic, but he travelled like a good horse in that race, and despite some greenness at the last hurdle where he gave the runner-up a chance, he powered away up the straight really effortlessly, to be honest. It was very much hands and heels at the end, and he was extremely strong at the line, which suggests to me, as does his action, that he'll quite relish the stiff, heavy ground 2 miles at Sandown. And again, look at Evan Williams' first time out hurdle winners. They don't happen often either. And when they do happen, they tend to be decent horses. I think Current Mood was the one from last season. Obviously, she was a decent mare, competed in all the graded races last season. Before that, it was Stargate. He was the only one of the previous season. He was second in the Challow. And you go back to the other horses who managed to achieve that. They've always been his kind of stalwarts in that yard, likes of Esprit de Large, Secret Reprieve, obviously, who won a Welsh National. His best horses can win first time out. And I think there's a feeling that Lastro Boy could be one of the best he's had for a while.
Okay, after you mentioned it was tipped up in a few places yesterday, the Lastro Boy, but a bit of juice still in that 13.0. So a lot of different opinions on that, guys. Very quickly on the Paul Nicholls runner, I was very impressed with him as he came, I think, from the back of the last to the line. He really kind of stormed up. Any sort of opinions on it? I guess it's not necessarily negative against the horse, perhaps.
I was worried about the ground for this horse. If it did come up really, really soft, then I was kind of best friends on good to soft ground. But he's not really raced on anything heavier, so wasn't quite sure with him. He was a bit of a question mark.
Cool. And Adele, with the ground, there's rain forecast, so it is going to go quite soft. Not heavy soft, I guess, but just softer.
Had Megan Nichols text me yesterday wanting some boots for the paddocks because she said it's going to be really wet down there. It's got a bad forecast. So yeah, by the sounds of it, it's going to be pretty wet.
I think it's going to be Sandown heavy on the hurdles track, to be honest, by the time we get to this race. And we know that can be a real slog.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so a lot of interesting picks for the guys there to watch. Go for the Tolworth. It may be one to watch, perhaps, and the 225 and